All right, hi again, Attorney Steve Vondra, and welcome back. We are talking in this video about copyright small claims court. What? I've never heard of that. It's because it doesn't exist yet, but it may be coming to a theater near you, or should I say a theater in Washington, D.C. So without further ado, let's head to the Attorney Steve litigation whiteboard and let's talk about this. All right, what's going on? So nowadays when you have a copyright issue, like say you're a photographer or you make music, write music, perform music, you have copyrights in your fonts, you have copyrights in your jewelry, all kinds of things are copyrighted, are copyrightable. Nowadays, if somebody infringes on your copyrights, you need to go to federal court. So some people are saying, well, that's too time consuming. It's too expensive. It could take, 2 years. That's true. It could take a couple years to get through a federal court case. Could take a year. Could settle in a couple months. It could be anything. But so what's going on now is in the House and in the Senate, at the federal government level, there are two bills that are essentially identical. One in the House, one in the Senate, in the Judiciary Committee, and it's getting out in the Senate now for a full vote of the Senate. So it's going to be interesting to see if this law is going to it's going to pass, number one. So it's called the C.A.S.E Act. It's the Copyright Alternative. What's that thing called? I always forget the name of it here. It's a Copyright Alternative to Small Claims Enforcement Act, something like that. It's Senate Bill S-1273. It's House of Republicans, House of Representatives, that is, 2426, if you want to go look the bill up, virtually identical. So, but it's getting out. It's going for a full vote. This could be coming to law near you sometime soon, maybe next year. But I want to give you just kind of a highlight, the summary of it. So it's just like any small claims court, as you know, like, for example, in California, small claims court can go up to $10,000. You can go seek up to $10,000. Somebody hits your car or whatever, somebody breaches a contract, doesn't pay the rent, all those kinds of things. Then you can go to a small claims court. You can represent yourself. I have a great video on small claims, your tips to help you win in a small claims court. I'm getting up to close to about 200,000 views on that. So go ahead and watch that if you're wanting more tips on small claims. But let's talk about this. So what they're doing is they're taking federal copyright law, cases that are normally brought in federal copyright court in your federal courts across the country, and now wanting to move these smaller cases, as they call the ones where maybe somebody infringed a photo, maybe it's worth $500, maybe it's worth $1,000 or something. So what they're saying is, we don't have a recourse in federal court. You actually do. If your photos are registered, you can seek attorney fees. So yes, you actually do have recourse in federal court, but maybe it takes too long for you and you want something more instant, so forth and so on. So what we have here, USCO, this is United States Copyright Office. This is located in Washington, D.C. They've got the Library of Congress out there. What they're proposing to do is to set up a Copyright Claims Board, CCB, Copyright Claims Board, within the United States Copyright Office. So the disputes would essentially be heard out in Washington, D.C. I presume that it would be done electronically and things like that, but I don't know. But I would assume that this would be an electronic submission of your claim. The panel would be a three-judge panel. Maybe it's less, but there's going to be a panel appointed by the Library of Congress. People here, from what I looked up, would be making somewhere on the pay grade like $100 and some $1,000. So, but they have to have specific copyright experience, and they're going to hear the claims. Now, as I put here, let's go down my checklist of main points here. Alternative to federal court. So it doesn't mean that the federal court is off limits. If you still want to go to federal court, you can still go to federal court, okay? But it's voluntary on both sides. So what that means is if somebody serves you with a summons and said, I'm suing you in small claims copyright court in Washington, D.C., you have 60 days to opt out the way it's proposed now. Now, this could change, okay? But they're saying you would be able to opt out and say, no thanks, I want to go to federal court. I want to do some counterclaims, some other things or whatever. But I want to be in federal court with a federal judge, not a small claims copyright board in D.C., okay? So it's voluntary. maximum damages are $30,000. So, but that's high. I mean, if you think about it, so if somebody accuses you of infringing a couple photos or downloading videos, let's say, like these illegal movie torrent downloads and movie sharing and all that stuff, which our firm does a lot of infringement cases in this area, those cases could conceivably be heard out here and could potentially flood. Can you imagine? It could potentially flood this court. So I don't know how they plan to manage that. That's going to be another question that remains to be seen. But if everybody's coming out here, how big is this going to get? I don't know, so that's kind of an unknown. But it's $15K per infringement. There is no issue of willful like you have in federal court cases now. If it's willful infringement, you can seek up from $30,000 up to $150,000. $30,000 to $150,000, but it's capped here at $30,000, which is still a lot of money if you think about it. So if you end up getting a default, somebody serves you and you don't answer, you could get a judgment up to $30,000. That's pretty high. So that's I would call that a pretty hefty small claims court. There's issues about whether it's appealable. From what I can tell, it doesn't look like it's appealable. There may be some judicial review where something is way out of whack or something, but it doesn't appear to be appealable. But again, this is just what I read. This is general legal information only, not legal advice. The panel would hear claims, counterclaims, and defenses. Just like regular copyright law in your federal courts, you're going to have basically your federal case law. You're going to have the law that would apply in your jurisdiction is the law that they should look to, okay? And that's written into the law. Counterclaims, 512F, those are those bad faith actions, bad faith takedown. Those are things that they're going to be willing to look at. I like that. 512F is very important for those false takedowns, for those people that aren't taking into account fair use. The fair use defense is going to be there. We do a lot of work in fair use law. And finally, you can have an attorney if you want. You can have an attorney, but you don't get attorney fees. Each party bears its own cost. So it's going to be interesting to see if attorneys would be involved. Maybe that's part of the plan, is to not have attorneys involved, but you can't recover your attorney fees as the law is written. And there's a provision, I don't know much about it, it was kind of general, but it talked about law students working on pro bono. So there's law schools out in DC area, Georgetown, American, I'm trying to think others, but there's a lot of law schools out there, so there might be some way for law students to come represent you on a pro bono basis. That's actually written into law. So I don't know much about that. That's something we're going to have to wait and see more. But there you have it. This is a general legal overview of the C.A.S.E Act. We'll be following this to see if it passes. We do a lot of copyright infringement law, so we're interested in watching this. Am I for or against it? I'm not really sure. Let's kind of wait and see how it plays out. But it does have some logic to it. But again, the devil's always in the details and seeing how these things play out. So if you need help with a copyright issue, federal court for now, fair use cases, those kinds of things, and possibly copyright small claims in the future, you know where to find us on the web, attorneysteve.com, the first name in legal services. I got to run, lots to do today, but I hope that helps. You're probably the first one to know about this. Good stuff around the water cooler, okay? Take care, I got to run. Bye now.